Okay guys, welcome to this Avid tutorial of getting started. So let's say that you have now shot some footage on your P2 or whatever cameras we've issued you, and now this is your first step into Avid. Avid is a beast. Avid has a lot of functionality to it, and we won't be able to cover it all in 15 weeks. There's just so many uses it can do and so many things it can do, and it's very, very specific. I am sure that by the end of this course, some of you are going to want to put your fist through the screen. So, having said that, I'm beginning to make these videos for you. So let's begin. Let's get this started. So now that we've started with Avid Media Composer, we should see the dialog window. Now typically we have two screens running. I have a second screen, but the record will only do one screen at a time. Also at the university, I believe you guys just have the one screen. So bear with me, but we'll make it through this. So at the very top we have user Ryan, user profile. Later on, when you start doing stuff, you can take your profile with you. If you become a professional editor and you have to work at someone else's Avid station, you can just bring in your USB key, plug it in, and bring in your keyboard settings, how your Avid is set up, all that sort of stuff. So that's what that is. But for the first year or two, you won't need to worry about this. Alright, then we get into private, shared, external. Alright guys, so private means we're at a private, just our normal computer. It's not in the hard drive. We're just the C drive or your drive if it's a Mac at the school. Shared means that we're all working off of one shared computer, so like one shared storage space. So we could have multiple Avid machines open. One person might be working on the titles, one person might be working on the ending credits, one person might be working at the beginning, and we're all working from the same footage, the same shared terminal. That's not the case here. So in most cases, what you want to do is have external. You all should have hard drives, and this should all be going to your external hard drive. So now it's going to be asking us, okay, if this is the first time making a new project, we click on this, it's going to ask us, where do you want to make this project? And I'll say, okay, I click on that, you click on this folder icon, and you start navigating to where your hard drive is. So in this case, I have Lacey, that's my hard drive, and I have my tutorials. So I can put it in there. So for you, you want to have your folder structure nicely organized so that anyone can help you find it. So if I were to come and say I need to assist you, I want to be able to go through your hard drive and understand it quickly and easily. If you want to be a professional editor, you need to have your files highly organized so that another editor can come in and work on it if you get hit by a bus. So that's kind of the saying that they use. Anyway, so if I were you, if I were a student, I would pause this tutorial, I would go through my hard drive, I would make one layer called personal, and that's where I would put all my personal stuff like pictures, whatnot. I would call it 01 personal, and I'd make another folder called 02 student work. Then I would separate that and I would put in student work 01 my Avid projects. And then that's where I would save it. Again, so you can do it like this. Make a new folder. You can call it my student work. And inside of my student work, oops, that's the show I'm working on. I make another folder and I'll call it 01 my Avid projects. Alright, so I'll make my Avid projects and I open it. So now that we've made this, this is the path where the computer is going to look for those projects. Right now there's nothing in there. We haven't made any projects, so this is our first time. So now we're going to make a new project. That's our new project, and let's call it, you always want to name it your project name. Kind of, you have to think ahead in terms of 3 years later, what project is this? Is this going to be your PSA, your documentary, your short film? So what I would do, and because you're working on a computer that is shared, I would put down, depending on what project it is, Ryan a PSA or doc or music video. All right, so that lets us all know that if someone else is working on it, everyone understands, oh, okay, this is their music video, their project. We can understand it. Sometimes media gets lost, and this helps us to locate it, and we can see whose it is. So that's why you want to be specific like that. So I would put that. And then for format, the format thing is kind of tricky. There are so many different formats. PAL is for Europe, NTSC is kind of North American standard, HD is 720, which is like just standard HD. This is HD where we want to work. Usually 1080, 24, or 23.976, depending on what you shot. So do you know if you shot 24 frames per second? Typically these are interchangeable, so they don't make much of a big difference, but sometimes they do. So I will say that we always try to go at 24 frames per second. The other options, just so you know, 2K is when you deliver a 2K show, or a 4K. Are we delivering a 4K show? Now most of our cameras deliver HD, so that's why we chose 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames per second. P stands for progressive scanning. I stands for interlace scanning. Was there an I here? Where's an I? Oh no, okay, there's no I options here right now. Be aware that there it is, 1080i means interlace. That means that the camera scans a left to right as well as an up and down. Progressive scanning means that it scans from top to bottom and left to right, just as our eyes read. And progressive is the most common type of recording at the moment, and I believe it will be. So 24 frames per second. Color space you can leave at YCBCR 709. When you start working at really good cameras and you want to deliver that kind of quality, RGB 709. Stereoscopic is for 3D projects. We're not going to worry about this. We didn't actually shoot on film. It wasn't developed or processed anywhere, so we don't have to worry about that or the data folder. So we can just press OK. Now all that's done is just create a simple folder. Okay, it's just made a space in that project, my student work. So let's see. Lacey. Where is this? L. My student work. There it is. My Avid projects. There. It's made a folder with these. Now there's nothing in there. This is different from a lot of other editing programs. If you're working in Premiere or Final Cut, it's nothing like that. Avid it's made so that you can go inside of it and start messing around with the guts of the project. So sometimes we need to get our hands dirty and do the nitty-gritty repairs inside of the Avid. So that's why it makes it like this. So anyway, it's created that. But take a look now. When I press OK, it's going to create a whole bunch of folders in here that are making up my one project. So here we go. I've just made the project and now I'm going to open it. 3, 2, 1, click. So now it's clicking, it's making all the bins, and now run a music video. There. So now this is our Avid project right now. It doesn't hold the media, so you're not going to see any video clips in here. That's the difference with Avid. It basically makes one folder structure. Inside of this folder is a whole bunch of little folders and bins, settings files, all these other little things that make up all of this. And none of the media, none of the video files are stored here. Okay? So that's a big thing. You have to understand. Wherever you put My Avid Projects does not mean that's where your media lives. Okay, if that's confusing, it gets worse. So bear with me. All right, so here we are. Now, Avid works with bins. So let's call this our master bin. This bin is different from this bin because it has our volumes, our settings. This is the effects panel with all the different Avid effects. Tells us about the format of the project. usage, as well as some info about the project. So let's call this bin our master bin. And this master bin, it can hold any media. No video clips, no audio clips, no picture files. It can, however, hold folders and bins. And this is a bin. A bin can hold media. All right? So how can I better explain this? So in my super bin, my master bin, I can right click and I can create a new folder or a new bin. So a new folder, there's the folder, you can see the icon. I'll call this one 01 capital letters sequences. Now if I try to put media inside there, it won't work. It doesn't hold media. What folders do is they hold bins. See? So this bin could be, I'll put in sequences. Whoops. Sequences. So sequences are kind of like timelines. And this is the timeline. So every time I open up Avid, I want to copy and duplicate a new sequence. A new timeline, basically. So with our first timeline, what we do is we go to New Sequence. I right click, or here's another thing. You can't click over here because that doesn't get me a new, there we go, new sequence. I guess it does. But you get different properties in different places. And with every update, Avid changes a little bit. So bear with me. There are some things we're going to have to find out as we go. Inside the bin, right click, choose New Sequence. Now here's the thing. Every time you make a new sequence, you call it today's date. So today is August 08, 2018, version 1. Okay? So that means that I'm going to start working on this sequence. I'm working on it, doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-doo. And then maybe I close Avid, and then I come back tonight. I come back this evening, and maybe I have to find out that I have to rearrange everything on that timeline that I've made. So I'd come in, I'd highlight the sequence, and I'd press Control or Command D, and that duplicates it. And this way, I make a version 2. So then I can make a whole bunch of changes, but all that work I did before is still there from earlier in the day. So maybe the producer says, you know what, all those new changes, yeah, we didn't like that. We like your original stuff. This way you can just go back to your original sequence. If you keep working on your original sequence and you keep deleting stuff from before, you're giving yourself a big headache. In the industry, it's very common for producers and directors to want to go back to work that was done before. It happens all the time. So just protect yourself with this. By doing this, every time you open up and begin working, always try to Control D and then make a new sequence. Maybe it's the next day. Oops, version 1. It's just good practices, my guys. So that's kind of what we're doing here. All right. So in these sequences, oh wait, sorry, that's a sequence. That's a timeline. So I'm going to get into media in just a second. So I make another new folder, 02 archive. I gotta make that in capitals. And inside of archive, I make a new bin. Archive. And I put this bin, click, drag, open. There's archive. See if it's activated, you'll see this highlight. And I activate the archive. It's highlighted. Okay, inside of archive, now I want to put those old sequences there. I'm done with them. They're not my current sequence, they're my archive sequences. So I take them, and then I can click on the icon, not the word. You can click here and it would thinks you want to rename it or rename this. So highlight the two, click, drag, drop. And now they're in your archive bin. So you can always come back to that old work that you've done before without having to redo it again. Then I close it, and take a look what happens when I close it. Look at the icon right here. 3, 2, 1. See how the icon changes shape? This indicates it's open and active. This indicates it's closed. Okay, so now that we've got the sequences and archives, let's start talking about bins holding media. So I'll make a new folder, and I'll call it 03 raw media. And I cannot, come on, cap locks, raw media. There we go. All right. So make a new bin. I call it, I'll call this one raw production footage. Raw production footage. This is not the sound. This is only the, actually it's even worse than that, guys. I'm going to show you something. You got to have to take this later on. This is the folder structure you have to copy. So you might just want to stop the recording right now, take a picture with your phone, or copy this, and spend the next 15 minutes making this list. You have to have sequences, current cuts, an archive cut, and there's more. Inside of raw media, we need to do a few different things. We need to have, inside raw media, we need to have, I'm just going to go through it. New folder is raw footage. Okay, here we go then. Inside of raw footage, you're thinking we need the footage, right? Well, that's, I'm sorry, but no. First we have day 1, because what if we're shooting on a production that has more than 1 day of footage, right? We need to keep organized. And inside of day 1, what if we have more than 1 camera? So camera A. And inside of day 1 camera A footage, I even messed that up. New folder, camera A. And inside of day 1 footage, what else do you think? Card A. Alright, so now inside of card A, now we can make a new bin. So because folders don't hold media, only bins do. So take a look at that. I hope that makes sense to you. Raw footage will hold day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, however long the shoot is, as well as camera A, camera B, camera C. There's a few different things of those. And actually, you know what? You don't need to have this there. If it's, we can do that. Card A. So card A is where you can actually bring your footage in. Now, P2 footage is different. I'm just going to warn you. You cannot bring in P2 footage. So let's try just with some DSLR or stock footage. I'm just going to bring my stock footage over. Alright, so there's a few different ways. In this case, I'm just going to do something really quick. I click on this box. I go to File. I'm just going to import it. Computer. I'll go to my rugged stock footage. And I click here. Now, when I import it, it is going to make a copy on one of my drives, and it's going to compress the footage at a different codec. So, this is a whole concept you got to get used to as editors. First, it's asking me, okay, where do you want me to make the copy? Alright, so I tell it, well, make the copy on my rugged drive. And then it's saying video resolution. It's asking you, how much do you want me to squeeze it? If I make it DNX36, it's just going to be a small, tiny file, but I can edit quicker with that. Or if you want me to make it a really high resolution file, you're not going to lose much quality, but it's going to be harder to work with. You see, when we start working at 8K footage, this stuff gets pretty intense. And if we're working on a laptop, we can't edit quickly. It's going to crash our laptop. So, DNX HD is a common codec for Avid. That's for the professionals. For students, for you guys, I'm going to have you edit at DNX HD 115. The reason is because a lot of people lose footage, a lot of people lose drives. At least this is a decent quality in case anything wrong should happen. So I am going to make a quality a kind of a copy at the same quality. So I click on DNX HD 115. Now I got to show you something else too. On my rugged, there is an Avid media files. Okay, I'm just going to do something. How can I do this the best way? Okay. Remember this Avid media files. So that Avid media files is where it wants to make this. So now that I've kind of renamed it, it's going to make another one because it thinks I don't have that there. So watch what happens. As soon as I press this, 3, 2, 1, import, it's taking the file, it's creating a copy from that stock footage folder, and it's going to put it inside the bin. Alright, come on, come on. Alright, there we go. So now we have our copy, and if I double click on this icon, now we can see it. Alright, but heads up, now with that rugged, remember that Avid media files folder? Look at that. It just made a new one just now, 1158, 1159. So inside there, MXF1, this file and this file are the same. You can even see 00953 blah 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 deer prancing woods and 103. So, and this is the pointer files telling Avid, hey look, this is the media where it is. So that's where it's keeping the media files, okay? That's where it's keeping the copies. I know this is probably a lot for you guys to take in for a starter video, but anyway, that is the import process for normal files, not P2 files, and that's how you do it. You get it all into day one, camera A, card A. Alright, so let's keep going through this. So now that we've got that there, I want to also we have raw footage. Now we got to make a new folder for raw audio. What's wrong with me today? Raw audio, there we go. And inside of raw audio, put that inside of raw media. Okay. And inside of raw audio, you got it. We got to make a new folder that is day one, right? And inside of day one, we make a new folder called, actually we don't even need to. Typically we just have card A, new bin, card A. All right, so that's the audio. In fact, let's make this a little bit different just to help you students out. I would put card A. I'll make this card 1. That way card A will be with our footage, card 1 will be with our audio. If we lose our stuff later on, we can use the finder tools and identify if it's in card 1, we know it's sound. If it's in card A, we know it's footage. Just trust me on this, guys. All right, so let's go through the list. Cool. So, where are we at now? Let's get our screenshot. So, yeah, raw media there. So now I want you to make sound effects, and inside of folder 4, sound effects, we have ADR, which is automated dialogue replacement. That's when actors, maybe there was rain going on the set, or there was some helicopters or a plane flying overhead. We have a booth, excuse me, where the actors can come in, watch their performance, and give the lines based on the footage. So then we take that line and we put it into the edit. That's ADR. Underneath that is temp music, temporary music that you might rip from the web. We can't use licensed music, but it's only temporary. This will help our composer to make their own music. Temporary sound effects. Maybe you have a sound effects technician working on your show. So now, if we just give them temp sound effects, they can make it better. Wild lines are kind of lines on the day. So maybe when we're recording, our sound guy pulls the person aside to another room and says, okay, we need some lines that are not part of the show. So I need you to grunt. All right, I need you to do a hum. I need you to whisper, hey, how's it going? So you can bring these little wild lines into your edit and improve your edit, so to speak. 05 are assets. Assets can just run the gamut. Maybe they're PSD files, maybe PNG files, Photoshop files that you need to bring in to show some photographs, not stock footage, but stock photographs or something like that. I don't know. They're a general thing. 05, visual effects. Incoming means we've already exported out a clip for them to work on. So now the incoming, we bring them in and we put today's date. We probably make another folder on what date we bring it in and what version. But you don't have to worry too much about that today. I just want to get you guys used to the idea of visual effects and whatnot. Syncing. Okay, syncing is going to be a whole thing. We have a clearing, synced, and syncing bin. This is a whole process. I'll walk through it with you guys later on. Graphics. Graphics is for lower thirds, which is what you see on news people. It says like Channel 7, you know, Ryan Adamoyo reporting. That's where the graphics is. So we need to have that somewhere, place so we can find it later on. Exports. Okay, exports is, you have to remember, you're thinking I'm going to make a movie. All right, that's cool. Good for you. Where are you making this for? Is this for YouTube? So that's a different size. If you're making it for theaters, they need a DCP, which is also a different size. If you're making it for iPad, that's a different size of quality and resolution. If you're making it for Europe, you're going to need to convert it to PAL. That's a different frame rate. Just because you're done a movie doesn't mean that it's only one export. There's a multitude of exports happening. So you need to make a folder for exports and then make a bin with that date and probably even version number about what you're exporting it, so that maybe the producer of the show is saying, look, I need to see a version of it for approval to get more funding. So can you shoot me out a H.264 export on August 9th? And you do that, you bring it into your Avid. So that way you know what you exported, what you showed them. You have a record of it, and trust me, you need to do it. Documents, it's true, sometimes you can bring in documents. Maybe you're bringing in some photo documents that might help you with the edit. Scenes synced, so after we do this whole syncing business of syncing the audio to the video, we bring the finished synced clip over to scene 1, or scene 2, or scene 3. Then we go to titles, effects, and leaders. Effects basically mean that you can save your effects. So maybe I have this one cool color correction effect that I want to use on 4 different scenes. Well, I don't want to have to build that effect over and over and over again. So what I do is that I create the effect and then I save that effect. Then I could just copy and paste it to all those other scenes. That's why you have an effects bin here. You can save effects. Or another example would be time ramping. Maybe you want a time bump of 75% faster. So you can save that effect, put it in here, and that way you can just copy and paste it in a way. Leaders, Leaders are such as your universal countdown leader, your 876543 beep. I'll give you more about that later. Titles, well, just think about it, right? There's tons of title cards. Maybe it's your title card in, title card out. Maybe there are subtitles. Maybe there's an introduction character, Ryan playing, I don't know, so and so, John Doe. So you need to have a title bin where you can keep those and easily access them whenever you need to. And bear in mind, this changes. Different post-production houses have different workflows and different settings. So I'm just giving you a very generic, basic one so that you are prepared whenever you go into the industry for what kind of detail and attention to detail that you need to have. Anyway, so take the next 20 minutes, create a list that equals this. Pause recording. All right, I'm going to just say that you guys got that. So now that that's all done, good job. You guys are awesome. If you haven't done it, boo on you. You should stop this recording and do it right now. Okay, so I'm going to say that you guys are awesome students and you've done it. Cool. So now, check this out. I have done it already. So, Avid in-class folder. So I already did all that before, and it lives in a different place. Rugged 29 Avid projects. But in this one, I have it, on my Lacey, I think. Lacey, my student work, my Avid projects, music video. Now get this, you guys are going to love this. Once you've made up all those folders and bins, once you've done it once, because Avid, we can get under the hood, all I have to do is copy, paste. I'll merge it. So it's copying it to my current project. Now, this music video, Ryan A. music video. So, what I do is I close it. I'm going to just close this up. And let's reopen this. Well, bam! Like a boss! So, now all that stuff has been done. So I can just, cut. So all of it is there. I can just clean it up and whatnot. But you get the idea. That's what makes Avid so good. Why would this be useful? Is because what if, well, I know when I worked at Scanline, is we would trade bins from across the country. People in LA would be working on visual effects down in LA. So they would send us the Avid bin of all their folders. It would be a shared server across the country, like across internationally, I mean. And we just input that into our bins and then we could start editing. So Avid is very, very powerful and it's very useful to know that. So I just want to make sure that we're getting everything here. That should get you your project settings, how to open a new project, bins and folders, and you should be good to go. Oh, well, while we're here, let's talk a little bit about project settings and footage. So I want you to be clear, never rename your clips. Never rename these clips. One more time, once it's in your Avid, you never rename the clips. The reason is because later on you might want to do color correction in DaVinci Resolve or some other color correction program, and you need to send it out. It goes there wherever it is, and then it comes back and it needs to link. And if you've renamed it, you're in a lot of trouble. So what you should do is choose a column, go to contents, or where is it? Duration, choose columns. We should have a comment. Oh no, I think they got rid of it. Space. Could use scene, source file and source path. Have those on. That will tell you where your file lives, so it's always good to have source file, source path on. Okay, let's press video file format's also good. Press OK. These comments appear here. So the video file, the way we brought it in was an MXF. This is the source file name. This is where we got it originally. So that's always good to have. There was a comments path, but I think they took that. Oh, wait, here we go. So we can just write comments. That's right. Come on. All right, so you got it. You can just go there and rename it. Okay. Anyway, later on when you do this, this is where you're going to say scene 1A, take 1. All right, so that's kind of where you're going to be doing all that sort of stuff. Okay, anyway, that's a little bit about the media itself. I wanted to talk about project settings. So I'm going to close that. We're all good. I'm going to close this. So now, let's get into settings. Oh, I also want to call your attention to this fast menu, or in the industry as we call it, the hamburger. The hamburger menu changes. So you see how it's open bin, new all that sort of stuff? Well, okay, let's go to the hamburger here. The hamburger gives us, like, what the heck is this? That's a dissolve, quick dissolve. This is the add edit button. This is the remove effect, time warp effect, copy and paste clip. So it's different. Also the hamburger button. Look at all this, right? The hamburger button is basically a fast menu which correlates directly to the corresponding pane. So this is the timeline pane, this is the composer pane, this is the master bin pane. So just be aware that that's what the hamburger is, and I'll be referencing that later on as the hamburger menu. All right. Oh, hey, so you should also be aware that the way to move these panes around, you have to do it at the top here. You see that? So I can't move it around here. I have to go to the top here and to kind of move it and adjust it. So right now, be aware that you need to see these guys. This is going to be your zoom bar. And one of the first year student mistakes is to have your timeline here so you can't see anything. You'll all be looking like, where can I zoom in? Where can I zoom out? What is Ryan talking about? Yeah, drag this up here, okay? That'll help you much more. And also with this composer, you can do that. You can make it a little smaller, a little bit bigger. You get the idea. So yeah, that's kind of moving the bins around. All right, I want to get into settings. I forgot. You guys are probably wondering, why is this so dark and yours is so bright? All right, so it's all about settings. You've got so many settings in Avid. Avid's a beast. So like bins, you can talk about your autosave. How often do you want it to autosave? For you guys, man, I put that every 10 minutes. Force autosave, yeah, I put that every 15 minutes. Max versions of file in the attic 50, good. Show border colors, no, we're good there. Okay, press OK, that's cool. That's the bins. Captures, then say we shot on tape, so then we can put it in a tape machine and record it into the Avid. We probably won't do that this year. Color management, don't worry about that. That's for when we're using LUTs and whatnot. Composer, is there anything in here you need to know? No. I'm trying not to overwhelm you guys, so I'm taking a look at what would be needed right off the top. Exporting is all good. Full screen play, but general. Let's go into general. All right. That's right. The default starting time code. All right. Remember this later on. We have to change our time code, so this will be a thing. You have to learn this for second year, and it's just a must know for editors. Anyway, that's where, general. Grid, don't use. Import, ooh, okay. Import. Nope. Just remember, okay, so sometimes when you bring in pictures, it's going to need to do this. You might, if you have a small picture, it's going to make it big and it's going to come out all weird and pixelated. If it's too big, it might squeeze it. So you might want to choose this, resize image to fit the format raster. That way, whenever you're bringing in images, this will make it look right, okay? So that's whenever you're importing images. Okay, press all right. Interface, that's what this thing is. So say for interface, I want it to look like you guys got it. So apply. Yuck! But you get the idea. So that's the interface. Default timeline. You can change the colors, all that sort of stuff. Automatic. You can do this where it automatically launches the last project. So maybe we close it, it can open to where we were before. Yeah, so you can just play around with that. I don't want to do that. Cancel. So that's the interplay folder. You guys need to know about linking though, and keyboard. So first I'll do linking. Okay, so this is the big thing. Some of you, we have the Canon X1AH, I believe. So you need to have this turned on. I've already turned it on for me, but turn on Enable Legacy P2 Import and Enable Legacy, no, automatically link to volume. No, Enable Legacy P2 Import. All right. So let's just do that and press OK. Also, go down to Media Creation, Import. Make sure that your video resolution is automatically set to DNxHD 115. Some of you might have it set to 36 already. Keep it to 115. And make sure that it's set to your hard drive. Okay? It might be set to your computer. Change it to your hard drive. And that's very important. Alright. Let's see what else. Renders. Yeah, I think we're okay there. Alright. What else? Mouse. Oh, so you know, keyboard, we're going to use this later on. We can map our shortcuts. So whenever you're working as an editor, you need to work very, very fast. So we will map our keyboard later on in another lesson. Alright, so there's so many different settings, as you can see, but I think that this one is getting pretty long. So I'm just going to do one last thing here is raw media, dailies, day one, camera A, card A. Alright, so you're wondering where I got that. That's from when I brought in those bins before, when I copied and pasted. Alright, so check this out though. I go, maybe you shot on that P2 stuff, so I'll import P2 and I'll choose, I think it's just media. P2 clips to bin, clips to bin. Alright, where did I put that now? Let me see, I think it's my tutorials. Did I put my P2 footage? Yeah, okay. So I made some P2 footage. Now, I'll get this, guys. Whenever you shoot the P2 footage, this just kills me because the P2 footage every single time is going to bring in as a contents folder. So whenever you have P2 footage, what you should do, you need to make another folder to put it in first. Okay? If you just drag it onto content, it's going to try to merge with every other contents and it's going to be a mistake. So don't do that. Anyway, I highlight the contents folder, I press OK, and there you go. Now I've got all of this wonderful P2 footage. So, yep, that's it. And you can see the P2 footage is enabled here, and these are the master clips. And that tells me where it lives, and we're good to go. So, anyway, that is just a quick startup, kind of a lesson 1, class 1 about how to get into Avid. Anyway, I hope this helps you out, and I am going to end recording.